Tom Homan warns protesters impeding ICE raids could find themselves in handcuffs. I heard about this ICE raid in Colorado. Here in Colorado, it was in Aurora, and they went to like an apartment complex, and it was completely vacant. Like they were tipped off, and they were going after a bunch of illegal gang members, and everyone was gone. Somebody tipped them all off, and they were all gone. So I think that's what is happening. There's a lot of tip-offs going on, and a lot of the raids are. There's a lot of successful ones, but there's a bunch of unsuccessful ones too, because people are getting tipped off and they're fleeing. So let's see what Homeboy has to say.
Orders are Tom Homan. Look, Tom, I have so many questions. First of all, if they're shouting and helping these people get away with bullhorns, how is that legal to get help from the people in the streets? I know they can protest, but that's not what they're doing.
You're exactly right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice, and where do they cross that line of impediment? So they may find themselves in a pair of handcuffs very soon.
Oh, shit.
So working with DOJ on that, get some legal guidance on that. I'm not an attorney. I know what SecOps is about. I know what crossing that line is, but getting DOJ back up on that. So it's something we're looking at right now, Harris. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites...
I love this guy. This guy is so based. He is just like, hey, this is the law. We're doing it. There's no exceptions. If you are here illegally and we find you, you're getting deported. That's what he's doing. Now, I do believe that is messy, and there's a lot of problematic things that are going to be happening because of that. But it's a big Band-Aid ripoff. Mathematically, we cannot sustain millions of illegal people coming into the country forever. It cannot be sustained. It simply cannot. So this guy, based as fuck, I'm glad that we have somebody that's such a hard ass on this issue and doesn't let his feelings get in the way. He's going to do what needs to get done. This guy's been hired to do a job, and he's doing it good as fuck.
This is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies. To have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk, because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal here. So we're addressing that immediately today. I'm addressing OPSEC today, Operational Security, how these leaks are happening. We've already identified how this operation got leaked. I'll deal with that today.
Interesting.
So, it's all about controlling the message. I try to be transparent. I promise American people will be transparent in operations, but it's obvious we can't be having all these different news outlets out there with us on various raids. Bill Malusian, great guy, but we got a lot of OPSEC concerns we're dealing with right now. But the leak, who we identified today, we'll deal with that today.
Oh shit, they found him.
It's not a game. I want to put it out to whether it's Governor Phil Murphy or the rest of the people that who want to game this. It's not a joke. This is serious business, and they need to stop, or we won't prosecute them through the Department of Justice.
Oh my
Look,
God.
I know
that dude. He is so hardcore. I love this guy. Dude, this is what we want. This makes me feel good. This is what, I'm not the only one that's feeling good from this. We're watching this, and I feel empowered. Don't you feel empowered? Don't you? Like I do. I feel like something is finally happening that's supposed to happen. You know, we've gone too far with one direction, and I think that there was a lot of ideology that truly meant well. That's the problem. A lot of our problems today are from people. They are our opponents politically, but they mean well. A lot of them mean well. A lot of them don't mean well. A lot of them are just here for the fight, but they mean well. And because of they mean well, but they're naive. They mean well, but they're naive with the mechanics of how things are going to end up. And that's what we're cleaning up right now. We have a big cleanup process on people who meant well. Not all of them, but there are genuine people who mean well. They want good things for people. That's what they want. But sometimes it's stupid as fuck, and it causes a lot of very expensive problems.
Our audience was paying attention when that agent or officer told our reporter Bill Malusian there have been some intel leaks. Those are very specific. So I understand what you're saying. You mentioned my state's governor, Phil Murphy. Yeah, he's trying to walk back the comments that he made about possibly, I guess it would be aiding and abetting if you're keeping somebody on your property. But we'll see what happens. He says that's...
Yeah, so, okay, fuck around, find out. There's a lot of people that are like, you know what? No, they still feel empowered to allow illegal things to happen. And what's going to happen is if people are going to start getting in the in the way of legal law enforcement. And anyone getting in the way of legal law enforcement, they're now getting put in their place. I think this is a good thing because a lot of people are in fucking la la land and they think that they're untouchable, and they're not. You can't get away with tipping off people to help them get away from the fucking cops. That's illegal as hell. You can't do that.
It's not what's happening with somebody he thought was on his property or said was. I do want to ask you this because I've heard you say, Tom, that you expect more violence. And you were talking specifically on the border, but why would that be?
Well, look, President Trump is, promises made, promises kept, right? He said he's going to secure the border. The numbers are down significantly. Look, and we talk about between the port of entry, I know you reported earlier that numbers are down about 67%. Actually, between the ports of entry, because that takes into account port of entries. Between the ports of entry, we're down closer to 87%. As we lock that border down, we're taking money out of the pockets of the criminal cartels, right? Yeah. They've made record amounts of money in the last 4 years, smuggling aliens, sex trafficking women and children, moving drugs across the border.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So people mean well. They're like, hey, there's these people in horrible situations in their countries and they feel bad and they want them to come here and prosper. I understand that. That makes so much sense to me. I understand how people can come to that feeling, right? But you have to understand the consequences of it. And the consequence isn't just because some brown person is here. The consequence is we're filling the pockets of cartel that are moving people here. Because guess what? These people that want to come here, they have to like work for fucking months making nothing. And then they take every little peso that they fucking made, right? And then they give it to some criminal to very inhumanely bring them over here. Right. So all of these people are basically like doing slave labor and then giving all of that money to these cartel that are moving them over here. There's bigger consequences to it that people that mean well don't consider. And it's important. And there's a lot of people getting hurt in that process, too. Those very unsafe transports from there to here, it causes a lot of death, a lot of suffering. It's fucked up, dude. And like people, because they want to be right, they just blind themselves to that so they can fucking feel like they're morally right on an issue. And that's why I just want to bring things back and look at it a little bit more realistically. You know, that there's pain and suffering that's caused from this real shit, dude. If people really, if you mean well, consider that. If you truly mean well, please consider that. Because I know that so many of you that disagree with me or a lot of my people here in the chat that are Trump supporters, I know you disagree with us, but please consider because I know you mean well. I believe you. I believe in that. A lot of other people fucking don't, but I do. I know you mean well. You see the world in a certain way and you want it to be a better place. I think that it's something that we need to agree on, that we need to stop allowing people to flood into the country and be transported here by the cartel and making the cartel rich. You know, they're rich off of the pain and misery of transporting people here. That is like, I really do think that is just, consider that, please. Because I know people that disagree mean well, but weigh that in, put that in your brain and weigh it. You know, you end up with your own decision and your own worldview. I don't want to tell you what to think, but I would love for you to please consider that.
If you secure that border, their business is going to drop, which means billions of dollars less they make. They're not going to go away quietly.
No,
so I truly expect
violence
to increase on the southern border just because who they are.
Happen.
That's why President Trump has designated them a terrorist organization, because they are. They've killed more.
They are a terrorist organization, and guess what happens when desperation comes? Violence. Violence always follows desperation. It always follows desperation. It starts when people like the cartel. They're not going to be starving, right? But it's going to be similar to like what happens when human beings, like a population, gets hungry and there's not enough food. Violence. It just happens. That's it's nature, right? It's nature. It's built in our DNA. It's what we do. When we get hungry, we start acting a little bit different. Okay. Now, guess what? These guys are going to be hungry financially, and they're dangerous. So violence is going to happen as a result of their financial hunger. I believe that this is exactly what's going to happen. I think that we're going to start seeing attacks at the border, and these guys are going to fight back, or relocate, or fight like. But they depend on getting their in our country. They leech off of our country with crime.
More Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. They're not going to go away quietly. So we're going to expect more violence on the border. But let me get back to what Phil Murphy says. When he goes out there and does this, plays this game, If the governor can do it, he sends a message to the whole world. They can do it too. Again, putting our officers at grave risk. It has to stop or they will be prosecuted. I'm working very closely with the Department of Justice to hold people accountable. This stuff ends today.
Accountability. Hell yeah.
Well, look, I had Voters' Voices on the program live yesterday and was talking with people about what the first 16, at that point now 17 days of this has been like. Here's what one voter told us.
I go to Chicago.
Hold on just one sec. Patrick says, has making drugs illegal made it go away or more humane? Just saying. Making drugs legal made drugs better. Yeah. So like here, like in Colorado, weed is legal. And ever since it became legalized, not only did it get cheaper and higher quality, but there was less crime because we legalized it and regulated it. Coming to the United States, there are legal ways to come here. And that is so that like to counter what you're saying, coming here legally is that system that makes everything okay. That's what it is. It's the problem is when someone comes here illegally. That's where the problems start occurring, right? And that's where it's not necessarily comparable with what you're trying to say. I understand what you're trying to say, right? Because it's kind of like Chicago. But guns are banned in Chicago, but people keep dying from guns, right? I understand what you're trying to say. I understand your point. I truly do get it, but it just doesn't connect as much for me because I just think about it of how, well, what about when you regulate it and make it legal, right? The positive things happen. So I think a lot more positive things would happen if people immigrated into the United States legally instead of illegally. I think that coming here illegally is where all of the problems are caused. That's literally the act of coming here illegally.
I go and I see the immigration crisis at the forefront in front of my school on the corners. I don't think we should wait until unpopular mayors like Brandon Johnson lose their elections. Their number one goal should be to be understood, and that's using their bully pulpit, that's advocating for the people that pay tax dollars to them. It's always whose humanity are you looking out for, and why not us that we're paying so many tax dollars.
And that young man, one of the Democrats we had on the panel who voted for Donald Trump this time around. Your reaction?
Look, I think the American people, they gave President Trump a mandate. Immigration, the border security, immigration enforcement is number one, and we're going to keep President Trump's promise. I looked at the numbers this morning. ICE has already arrested just short of 12,000 people in this country. Vast majority are of criminals, public safety threats.
Mm-hmm. So this is one of the things, this is like a news person thing, right? She just asked a completely unrelated question to the person who matters the least to answer it. What is this? This guy is so hard ass on deporting all the illegals and securing the border and a rule of law. And that's literally all he fucking cares about. He lives, breathes this shit, right? And she's asking him about fucking voters. Okay. Just saying, guys, right? So as a righty, I'm always going to call this stuff out, right? What the fuck does that have to do with the border? It's because there's agenda. So that's agenda building. And we have to watch out for that when we're watching the news. That way we're not retarded, okay? You become retarded if those things get past you. You got to make sure that doesn't get past you and be like, why the fuck are you even asking that in the first place? It's agenda building. Is it our agenda? Yeah, but it's still agenda building. And doesn't it fucking suck when it happens to us by the left, right? They do that shit too, right? And it's so fucking annoying. I hate it when that happens. It's so annoying when the news does that stuff. So I want to point that out, right? So even if it's our own side, you have to not let those things go past you. See it for what it is and roll your eyes. I think that's a good thing to do. That way you don't become retarded.
And that's what we're trying to do. And for any mayor or governor,
what if I am retarded?
Who doesn't want public safety threats?
Well, if you're already retarded, then I'm retarded, but I try my best not to be. I'm constantly fighting against being retarded. That's how I feel. Okay, it's a battle to unretard myself as much as possible. That's what I'm doing.
That's removed from the communities. I find it hard to believe that, but we're going to do it with or without them. If they're not going to help, get out of the way. But don't cross that line. Do not impede our operations. Do not knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien, because we will seek prosecution. We're going to do what the President promised American people. We're going to make our communities safer by targeting those who are in the country illegally that have criminal record or a public safety threat. That's what we're doing. But if you force us into the community and not let us get the bad guy into jail, That's going to put the community at risk. It means more collateral arrests. It means more non-criminals being arrested, because when we find the bad guy, which we will, there's going to be others with them. Others that may not be a criminal priority, but we're not going to instruct ICE to walk away from them like the Biden administration did. We're going to enforce immigration law.
And it's the way it should be.
I tell you, Tom Homan.
We can't turn, you're there, you got caught up in it, unfortunately, and now you know, like, I don't think we should turn a blind eye if they get caught up. You know, I really don't think we should, just because of the volume of people that came here. The volume was too high. I think if the volume was a lot lower, it'd be a lot easier to turn a blind eye, because it's not that big of a deal. It's literally like an illegal epidemic of people coming into the country. It stopped, but it was insane how many people came here. Like, the numbers are insane. I can't believe it, you know? And since it's so absurdly insane, I have to concede and be like, yeah, that something needs to happen. Typically, if the numbers were really low, I literally wouldn't give a shit. I grew up in Southern California, bro. That's where I grew up. I live in Colorado now, but I grew up in Southern California, and I don't know, like, the culture of how I grew up makes me not really give a shit about illegals that much. But because of the volume, the sheer fucking volume over the last 4 years, yeah, because of the sheer volume, I have to actually care about that issue now. I didn't ever really want to care about that issue. I've never wanted to care about illegals. I never have cared about illegals my entire life. The only time I care about illegals is right now, because of how the sheer volume that came here. It's too much. It's literally millions of people that came in here. That's crazy. And we'll move on to the next thing.
You have those gang members and illegals on the run, with reports of people trying to move around the country now to get away from operations that they know are coming, and maybe tipping each other off. We'll see. We'll cover the stem to stern, especially as you find out what happened with those intel leaks. Thank you.
Look, so Harris, we will not be happy to every single TDA member. TDA is going to be eradicated from this country. I will not rest until every one of them are in prison or at Gitmo. That's a promise I'm making to the American people.
This guy's so hardcore.
Tom Homan,
Holy
the border czar for President Trump, on it.
Jeez.
Thank you very much.
The guy is the most hardcore guy ever. That I've just like, he's so intense. That guy is so intense. You know what? The confidence, the determination, what is the word when someone's like really locked in? Like his focus on this. What's a good word for that? But he is so like driven, right? The drive and the dedication to this. He's like, he is like committed to this. I'm sure, I don't know if I'm finding the right word I wanted, but I said a bunch of them. This guy is so confident and committed and just serious about this. The energy for me is just like, yes, dude, can we get more people that are just this serious about what they're doing? And, you know, like, these are the guy, man, the people that we need to run the country exist. I've never heard of this guy before. He is laser focused.